Greetings, I'm the artist. Today we're going to be talking about onto Criterion C. Criterion C is all about critical thinking. It is about the research, analysis, discussion and evaluation of ideas. They're going to be looking at the clarity of your argument, of your writing, of your language. Again, there has to be evidence of a familiarity with art history, art criticism, and cultural studies. You're also going to be marked on how closely and clearly your argument is related to your question. Okay? So this is really important. When you're writing your essay, keep going back to the question. Am I focusing and answering the question? Because when you're writing the essay, your research will be, especially in the beginning, quite vast. And it's very easy to go off on tangents. So make sure that when you're writing and when you're rereading what you've written, you're asking, am I actually answering the question? Am I focusing on only the relevant information that is, specifically dealing with the question? That's really, really important. That's a great way to write clearly. So any statements that you're making, make sure that, like I said before, they are supported by your research. So your interviews with artists, your site visits, so whether it's an artist studio or a gallery or a museum or whatever it is that you're visiting yourself to investigate and research your topic. And of course the written research, the articles that you're reading, the books that you're reading, the videos that you're watching, whatever it is that you are using to support your argument, make sure that it's varied, make sure that it is a kind of a creditable source, right? That's the whole other story. Make sure that whoever you're quoting or using to help you with your argument is of a creditable nature. A lot of the time when you're doing your research, you're going to come across bloggers. Again, who is the blogger? What are their credentials? These are important questions to ask. Minimize the kind of reference to biographies, because biographies are a narration of facts. You're not in a position to question things, so biographies should be a reference point. They should not be, however, the focus of your essay. I've already explained why. There's no critical thinking in narrating or describing somebody's life, right? It is, however, relevant if that biography is the context within which you are looking at whatever it is you're looking at, the work, the ideas, whatever. Another thing that's going to be looked at in Criterion C is how your argument is structured. Don't be tempted to make things fit. Don't be tempted to jump to conclusions. If you are, for example, wanting to argue a certain point, but you find no evidence to support that point, then you're going to have to change tactics. You're going to have to, tweak things and look at, what other possibilities are there. Am I actually wrong? Is my premise wrong? What do I need to change about that if that's the case? Don't just kind of, whatever, it's an essay, here it is. Don't make stuff up. Don't jump to conclusions, because you're being marked on that. Okay, so now we're getting to Criterion D. Criterion D is about structure and layout. It is about the nitty-gritty of how you've actually presenting the written work, the essay. This is the technical part. This is where you have to really make sure that you have stuck to the rules, that you're ticking all the boxes, that your structure and format is, on point. There's no fuzziness when it comes to formatting your essay, because if there is, then you're losing marks. Yeah. So in some ways, it's the easiest part of the essay, because you're basically presenting it in a way that is laid out for you. So using the correct format is really essential. Your supervisor should help you out with that. You should be getting guidance from your supervisor, from your school in general, how to format your essay, how to structure it. Adhering to or using the academic structure can only help you write a clearer, more coherent argument. It is definitely something that you should spend a lot of time on. And a lot of the time, this is the bit that gets rushed, because people think, oh, well, I've written the essay, there it is, and they just run out of time, or they just think, oh, it's just kind of window dressing. It really isn't, because spending time on the format, the structure, and the layout means that you are ensuring that all that work that you've done is presented in a logical, coherent, easy to follow, clear way. Things like citations are obviously included in this criterion, that you are following a system of citation, of crediting the source, the owner, the creator of the work that you're discussing, etc. This would fall under plagiarism if you are not doing this properly. When you are referencing work, there is a specific list that you need to kind of include. This should be made clear to you by the supervisor, whoever's supervising you, and the list is as follows. So the artist and the designer's name, or creator's name, the title of the work, ownership if someone else owns it, for example, if it's a work by, I don't know, Damien Hirst, who actually owns it now, the dimensions of the work if it's relevant, and the source, where did you get the image, where did you find the information, etc. The structure of the essay in its entirety should have a title page, a table of contents, it must have page numbers, and it must have a bibliography. Again, all this should be coming from your supervisor. You do not exceed the 4,000 word limit. It should be around 4,000. If it's too short, that's a bad sign, but don't go over either. Make sure that you're not only citing the works of art, but the ideas. Where, if you're kind of quoting somebody, make sure that you put the quotation marks there, and that you credit the source or the person who has said this. And generally, citations should be, really clearly spelled out. If there's an idea that you're using, you mention their name. If you're not quoting that person, then you're paraphrasing that person, which basically means that you're still using their idea. So this is something that you make sure that you're referencing. Now, there's several referencing systems available. The most popular one is the MLA. If you are having problems with this, again, talk to your supervisor. There is a website called EasyBib, which basically helps you format your essay. But generally speaking, you should be getting help from your supervisor with this. It's probably your first academic essay, so you will need someone to kind of make sure that the formatting and the structure is correct. For Criterion E, it is basically a criterion that looks at the engagement, your engagement with the essay, with the whole kind of process. This is also where the extended essay RPPF form comes in, which is basically a form that you will be filling out throughout the process of writing your essay. These are basically the evaluations that you write on the form, which reflect on the three main meetings you have with your supervisor. So it will be your reflections, and it will also kind of look at the supervisor's comments. Are you all over the place? Are you focused? How engaged are you in the topic? How much commitment and insight are you bringing into writing this essay? Things like creativity, originality. Are you, extremely impressive and going about it in a very kind of mature way? All these things should be in the form, and basically they inform the mark that you get for Criterion E. Within that is also the final interview that you have with your supervisor, which is the viva voce interview, which is basically the supervisor asking you specific questions in order to gauge your engagement, your commitment, your knowledge, your growth that has happened throughout the process of writing this essay. When you're writing these reflections, you focus on things like the strategies that you used. How did you go about doing certain things? How successful were you using these strategies? What were the challenges that came up, generally speaking, while you were writing? How did you overcome them? Again, it's showing evidence of learning and of you dealing with challenges and growing as a result. It's also about the insights, writing about anything unexpected, anything that made you unexpectedly take interesting avenues. Another thing that you could write about in your reflections is the questions that have emerged from your investigation. Also, how you would do things differently if you were in a position to start the essay, again. The supervisor is going to be writing about your insight into things, your understanding, the creativity that you brought to the project, and of course the level of critical thinking that you have been applying to the process. Now, the timeline of this whole process, because it is a long one and it is an elaborate one, should be more or less structured for you by either the supervisor or the school, okay? But just roughly, because obviously, schools all over the world do things differently. Generally speaking, you should have at least one really good, very important meeting with your supervisor at the end or before the end of the first year of IB. That would probably be grade 12 or year 12. So you have a meeting with your supervisor before the end of year 1, and then during the summer you have that question and you are researching that question by reading all the relevant material, and make sure that you have a variety, so books, articles, magazines, online articles, etc., that you are interviewing the people that you need to interview for your essay. People are very good at promising things, but when it comes down to it, they can be quite elusive. So make sure that you pinpoint a time. You have the summer is quite a bit of time to really get that interview done, because otherwise you're chasing them up, etc., and if it kind of goes into your second year of IB, that's just a waste of time. And again, make sure that you are respectful, but also pin people down, because if someone's kind of saying yeah, but they're never around and never available, then you may have to kind of go to someone else. Also, not all good artists are good interviewees. A lot of artists don't necessarily like talking about their work. They're not necessarily very academic, so keep that in mind, right? You may have very difficult interviews with people who are not very comfortable with talking about their work. So again, the summer is a great time to switch to someone else or find strategies to really work with an artist or someone who's not very verbal. You're gonna have to find ways of finding that information that you need in creative ways. So once you've done that, you're bringing like all that good stuff, all the research, the field work, you've visited galleries, you've gone to whatever you need to have done to get all the information that you need. You come back to your second year of IB, and that's when you very quickly afterwards, I would have my second meeting with my supervisor, because that is again a very important meeting. You're showing them what you've done, and you are then going to together with your supervisor, pinpoint what is the most relevant, what are the juiciest bits, what are the things that you really want to kind of take further, okay? And then your final meeting, third and final meeting, will probably be around October, November. You want to have your essay done by the end of November or thereabouts, because that break that you get, you know, the winter holidays, the winter break, and again, I know the schools are doing different things all over the world, but that is really your, you know, that's your bonus time for really finishing off all your artwork if you are a visual arts student. You don't want to be messing around and using that really important and precious time on still sorting out your extended essay. Get that essay done, out of the way. That way you can focus on getting everything ready for your final IB Arts exhibition. Okay? So this is the best advice I can give you. It is a complicated and long process. If you feel that you need more help, let me know, because I'm thinking of helping students online with their extended essays, but I want to see how much interest there is. And at the moment, I have quite a chaotic lifestyle, so it would need planning and time to create something online where I could become your extended essay supervisor, or where I can support you alongside your extended essay supervisor. So some students are going to need more help, some students are very, very independent. So you know, I want to see how much help you guys want or need, and then I'll think about maybe creating something online to help you with your extended essay. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Come back, we've got lots to discuss. All the best. I'm Miss A. Bye bye.